So one thing I'm a bit curious about is it sounds, from all that you're saying, that the passenger pigeon is really not the end of the story. It sounds like you can take this technology in many different directions. Can I order, can I put in a request for an elephant bird or a Hast eagle or something?
Yeah. So sure, you can put in your request for whatever you want, but then you got to find the guy who has $25 million to help us make that happen.
The thing is, the dodo as well. I mean, these iconic birds would be such a tourist draw if you could get something
and
like this.
And the dodo especially actually is one that would be very good, easy to fit in with the passenger pigeon project because they're both pigeons. Mm-hmm. Not everybody knows the dodo is just it doesn't look like it, right? But it is a giant pigeon.
Is there enough material?
So the same laboratory that sequenced the passenger pigeon genome that I worked with has sequenced a dodo bird genome. Mm-hmm. And they have been researching that for a couple years now. And yes, I mean, we have the same tools in place. And that's the thing is like, if we can get the germ cells of a bandtail pigeon and breed bandtails, then we can definitely do it with the Nicobar pigeon, which is the living relative of the dodo. So, I mean, in truth,
if someone really wants
to see
because the dodo was quite large, right?
The dodo will present some challenges with size, but those are not insurmountable. Those
how do you get around that?
Well, there's a number of ways it could be tried. I mean, it might be a tangent that confuses some listeners, but
that's okay. Let's do it.
So, crazy thing about birds is once an egg is laid, like mammals are easier to work with from an embryonic state. But once an egg is laid, you can crack it open, you can pour a bird into a different egg, you can grow it in a dish. I mean, there's a lot of manipulation there that you can do. So you can take, a Nicobar pigeon, which lays a tiny egg, that it's going to hatch a giant dodo, and just open up the egg and put it into a larger egg. Now the question there is whether or not there will be enough yolk reserve to grow the entire embryo. So however, there are ways to graft bird embryos onto other yolks.
So that's been done. That's a technology.
That's been done. Yeah.
Okay.
So what we could do is we could edit a Nicobar pigeon's germ cells, implant them into a domestic pigeon to be kind of the optimal surrogate. And when they start laying these teeny tiny eggs with baby dodos in them, we crack those eggs open, take the embryo off, and graft it onto the yolk of, say, a turkey or a goose egg. And then you hatch your dodo out of one of those eggs.
I'd never heard of that before. But okay, but then the question goes back to the elephant bird, which was enormous. Is an ostrich egg big enough?
No, it is not. And that's where it might come down to a combination approach of it's like this, right? Like if you breed hybridization studies are good for this. If you hybridize two species that are very different sizes, a lot of the time the embryo you have, the offspring you get, is in between. Mm-hmm. And so if we take, say, the genes of an elephant bird that make size and put them in only as single copies rather than double copies, theoretically we should get an animal about half the size of a full-grown elephant bird. And so once we have those, you can start working to kind of progressively get a larger bird. It presents more challenges, it does. It would be much better to work with something that's in line with sizes that we can transfer, like, to, if we could graft onto an ostrich egg and make that work, that'd be great. But each species is going to pose problems and challenges, and to me, that's just part of the kind of the fascinating part of taking on the projects. It's like, well, how do we overcome that stuff? How do we move through it? But I mean, if anybody's really interested in seeing a dodo bird again, they should definitely fund our passenger pigeon work because it is paving the way to making a dodo as well.